trouble is people don't want to know exactly what to ask. They want to know exactly what to say. So sometimes you've got to tell people what they think they want and then give them what they need. Like, it isn't how do you turn a no into a yes, it's the people who are stuck indecisive. And if you look at the real estate market, like how many transactions didn't happen last year because people were stuck in maybe? Slow the heck down. These are real people that need help. They're trying to navigate complex decisions. Help them find out what's really going on and don't be the advice monster.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Glennda Baker. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. And today on Glennda's Guru, we are joined by my friend, Phil M. Jones, the author of Exactly What to Say. Phil, I am so excited to have you here with me today. And I want to tell people kind of how we first met. Do you remember how we first met?
I might need some reminding of this because I think there have been a few interactions, but give me your version first.
Glennda's version, I love it. So we first met at Tom Ferry, and you were a judge on 3 agents that had to talk to a buyer or a seller. And I was one of those agents, and I was up there. But before we went up, I don't know if you had the opportunity to hear, one of the other agents that was competing against me said to me, I want you to know that I'm absolutely going to decimate you. And I remember like looking around to see if anybody had heard him. And to the best of my recollection, you kind of giggled a little bit. And so we got out there on stage, and not that I would be bragging on myself, but I think I did well. What do you think?
I remember this very, very vividly. And I remember, the challenge that came with it when you put a number of fairly significant egos up on a stage, thinking that what winning looks like is disrespecting who the other person, the other side of the conversation is. And we were looking at situations that I think were a listing presentation. And I think you're the only person that asked any questions.
You are correct.
I remember somebody's very, very uber confident, perhaps overconfident, that could have worked in a certain type of market.
Yeah.
And there is a certain type of seller that would like to somebody to have that degree of uber confidence. But in most markets, I think somebody would run a mile from that. And the responsibility that we had, and I think that you actually served remarkably well in that given moment, is that there were 6,500 agents in the room, of which the vast majority were not as experienced as those that were on the stage, were looking at the industry thinking, how am I going to make this work? And needed to hear something from those moments that was empowering and was possible towards how they could show up and carry their business forward in the days and weeks that followed. And you served that moment masterfully. So I remember it very well.
Well, I got to tell you, I was so intimidated to actually be like observed by somebody who was a professional speaker, someone who has mastered the art of persuasion like you have, because like, I haven't had any speaking. Well, I've had one speaking class, but I haven't had any formal training or anything like that. And so I was very intimidated. And I think, and you gave a keynote at that event. And what I learned from your keynote was that listening, it wasn't exactly what to say was everything, but it was also listening very, very well and moving the conversation in the right direction. You can know exactly what to say, but if you don't listen to what they're saying back to you, it doesn't work.
I have a brand that is called Exactly What to Say. I wrote a book that sold 3 million copies called Exactly What to Say. We have an entire business called Exactly What to Say, and it really should be called Exactly What to Ask. And then how do you collect evidence as a result of being able to ask more intelligent questions? The trouble is people don't want to know exactly what to ask. They want to know exactly what to say. So sometimes you've got to tell people what they think they want and then give them what they need. And much of our body of work around EWTS is teaching people to be more strategically curious, helping people craft better questions. And the thing with those sort of staged pitch fest type moments that we're referring to here, and even script training, dialogue training that exists inside the industry at large, is people forget that the other person doesn't get trained on their lines. So it doesn't matter how much work you do preparing your side of what it is you're going to pitch, you're going to script, you're going to say to somebody. Nobody's doing the same work with the other person on the other side of the conversation. So what happens is you hit moments that the only way you're going to be able to control it is if you deliver a monologue straight through somebody that almost certainly isn't going to work after the moment. And this is why you get things like buyer's remorse, past listing agreements. Like people are saying things like crush that in there, they're coming on board with me, I got the signed agreement, but that person was never fully sold. They just got steamrolled. They weren't fully bought in and fully aligned. And this is why I love the gift of being able to do the work I do inside the industry, which is like, slow the heck down. These are real people that need help. They're trying to navigate complex decisions. Help them find out what's really going on, and don't be the advice monster.
I love it. I love it. And you're really kind of headstrong on like not vomiting all of the words, like just not like talking over them. I remember when we were there on stage, there was one person who like not only didn't ask the questions, but spoke over the client. And it was so interesting to hear your kind of critique, your feedback to that person, because they were not in a mindset to receive the advice that you were giving.
Right. Which happens.
And you don't just work with real estate agents. You exactly what to say is a brand that consults with Fortune 100 companies.
We've worked in over 800 different industries, 59 different countries, 5 continents. It just so happens that I also wrote exactly what to say for real estate agents, and the industry kind of likes us a little.
They love you. And you now, and I think that you have like a workshop where you bring in people and train them, like maybe certified exactly what to say guides. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, we have 2 levels of certification. One is almost a personal certification for people to go deeper and understand the curriculum for their own application inside their own lives and businesses. And then there's a further level that we invite people to step into where they are licensed to train the work and can integrate it inside their businesses and actually have access to resources and materials and brand building assets. And we collaborate on content, and they have training materials in abundance. It's 2 levels. It depends. Do people want to learn more, or do people want to teach?
And what do you love? What is it? What is it about the brand that you're passionate about, that you're in love with? Like where do you want to take it? Where do you want to go? Where if you, in a perfect world, where could you spend all of your time in this business?
Giving it to other people and letting them do something with it that I could have never imagined for myself. So one of the coolest things that exists even through our certified guides community is I don't get to decide what we're doing next. Like this moves from being my brand to our brand, and we're doing some really cool stuff, but I didn't ideate it. I didn't greenlight it. We have projects run faster in our businesses if they are PNR, and PNR stands for fill not required. Like if this project can be PNR, like it's going to move quicker. And one really amazing example of this is we're now teaching certification programs for partially sighted and totally blind people. That was never my idea. That would have never been something I would have had either the bandwidth, the skill set, or the capacity or connections to be able to explore. I love that it's existing. But Kyle Kuhn, who's one of our certified guides, who's a 2-time Paralympian, who also happens to be fully blind, decided that blind people needed this information too, and has worked with people inside our team. And we've made all of the learning materials now friendly for screen readers. And we've created workbooks and information that allows it to be shared in a way that is applicable to those individuals. I'm like, this is really freaking cool. And Carlos Garcia is running a Facebook group for exactly what to say for people that have English as a second language and Spanish as a first. And I'm like, I can't have done that. And I'm so excited. And all of those people love Carlos and they love the work. And many of them have no idea who I am and what I look like. And it's freaking amazing.
That is so cool that it's almost like that you've been able to live vicariously, like they're like a vessel for your voice.
Yeah, and we've done so much with the work at EWTS to distill it down that I can give it away and know that all that other people do is they bring their essence to it and it expands and it becomes something new. And
that's so cool.
I've been in this personal brand, building a business around your expertise space for longer than I care to admit, right? I started this sort of 2007, 2008. And starting in this space as young as I did, you're looking upward for mentors, right? You're always looking for, who's doing the version of what I'd like to grow into one day. And I've really struggled to find people to be able to look up towards to say, like, they've got what I want when I'm 60. Can't find many examples of that. Because what happens is people's own personal ego gets in the way of the brand, and then any way they scale, all it is it's like hero and their minions, hero and their minions, hero and their minions. Nobody can get through that. So we always took the view on this is like, I want to build a brand that's significantly bigger than me. That means that my personal brand can get lost in it and can have the freedom to go do other things, which is counterintuitive to what many people would teach. But like, what happens to the Anthony Robbins business when Tony Robbins goes? Now, where's the off-ramp there? There's no off-ramp. There's no real exit strategy. There might be on death, but I've seen what happened to Zig Ziglar's business on death, and I've seen what's happened to the Carnegie business. So, like, you see what happens. So what if you can look at it and say, well, what would you do if you were no longer here today? Why don't you build the business that you'd hope the best VC company in the world would ever build with your materials whilst you're still alive?
My stars and stripes, I have to tell you, so it's so funny that you said that, because I was literally because a lot of what you were saying, and I follow Tony Robbins, and I love.
It's amazing.
I think he's fantastic.
Yep.
And I've been to his events, and and it's impossible to extract him. It's there. There's nobody, and there's no way to. And just like Zig Ziglar, it's impossible to extract him. And what you've done, we've never talked about this, and I've never ever had this conversation with you. That's why when you were saying it, I was like, holy shit, like, he's really thought through this. So you've literally built a brand around you that's not around you, because what you've done is you've made the brand you're not the commodity, the brand is.
That's what we're working on every single day.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
I hope so. It's a different level of responsibility. It's a different path to growth. And you asked me what I enjoy the fact that I don't have to come up with all the answers by myself. I enjoy the fact that I've got to steady the ship and police people's behavior, but the future direction of where the brand goes and what it is we do isn't just mine to say. Like, I don't hold all those answers.
Yeah, that you really have kind of you've really created a sustainable brand, which is very unique for people in your position, because I wonder, do you think it's ego that keeps people from doing, why do you think that they don't do that?
One is because it's really freaking hard. Like, everybody has ideas on how things could be done, but like, very few are prepared to actually put the infrastructure into place to do it. And I even get it in my world now, where I'll go to a National Speakers Association event and they're like, hey, Phil, can you tell people how you make loads of money through licensing your content out to other people? I'm like, well, number one, that's not what I'm doing. Number two, I never said we're making loads of money. We're building a big brand. because it all goes back in, right? We're forever reinventing from infrastructure and systems and putting new people in and having to resource it. And it's playing a real long-term game. Like you have to say that I'm doing work today that I think is going to pay me rewards in a decade. Whereas most other things are so short-sighted. And then the other challenge that many personal brand businesses run into is they make themselves the rainmaker. And then what they do is they have a lot of people who need to get watered. And therefore, what they have to keep doing is they have to keep making rain. So they have to run to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. It's hard to actually run a 3, 5, 10, 15-year playbook because you're like, I got to feed all these mouths Friday. I got to feed all these mouths for the end of Q1. So it's like, so now what? So now what? So now what? And the mistake that I see many of these other businesses having is churn, right? Is in the top of the funnel, back out the other side, in the top of the funnel, out the other side. Because in our business of being in the helping industry, hope is always for sale. And people will be very happy to part with money for hope, but it doesn't mean that they're going to guarantee results. So what they do is they drop off the other side. What's interesting even with our model at EWTS is like, I make no money off my people, nor am I responsible for catching any food for them. We deliver assets and service and materials for them. They pay an annual licensing fee, but we want them to go and make money, and we want them to tell us about it, but I don't need any of that money. That's not what we're here for. And whereas others find themselves very convoluted because good people that are in somebody's downline, when they get good enough, they don't want to stay connected to the brand anymore. So they want to break out. And there's all this like weird money rules of, well, was that your client, my client, their client? Was that value from that IP, from that IP, from that? It gets really weird and messy with the money. And whenever anything gets messy with the money, it breaks. So we're conscious even from the start to say, no, like your money is your money. We want you to make loads of it, and we want you to tell us all about it. We want to give you resources and tools that you can buy from us that can help you make more money. And when you buy things from us, we're going to make money. But I'm not finding you leads, creating you opportunities, nor am I taking a cut out of any of the money you make. If we refer you opportunities, go get it, go represent the brand well. We love you, but we're not in the pay plan. And one of the ways I can do that is I own all my IP, right? So like I own my book. That means that if this slow train goes round and the result is 300 more people go to Amazon to go buy a copy of Exactly What to Say, I get paid. Whereas most people, if 300 books go through on Amazon, they get 50 cents a book. I get $6 a book. It's a big difference.
You have really thought through the steps of entrepreneurship, sustainability, and ego.
Mm-hmm. And to try and take a longer term viewpoint. And like it beats me why most real estate agents are still focused on 30, 60, 90 day pipelines. Like, why are they not focused on 30, 60, 90 month pipelines? Like, everybody you ever meet at some point in time is going to transact on a house for one reason or another. Why do you only care about them when they're in the final mile and they're speaking to everybody else?
I have to tell you, I heard you make that statement. Were we in Boston?
Maybe. I probably did say that there.
You made that statement, and literally I wrote it down in gigantic letters, underlined it, highlighted it. And because what hit me is I'm always talking to real estate agents about moving from service provider into relationship. Mm-hmm. And they're so busy, focused on 30, 60, 90 days. Who's going to buy a house 30, 60, 90 days? That they don't do anything to build the relationship because you're right. Probably 70 to 90% of the people that you meet are going to buy or sell a house in 5 years. And your mentality is that people are dispensable if they're not going to transact with you in 30, 60, 90, that you're leaving so much money on the table for your future. And you wonder why you can't
ridiculous.
build a sustainable business.
Correct. Like you should know today, Sally and Jim that we sold a house to 2 years ago are thinking about potentially moving in 2031 when their youngest moves from middle school. And you should know that in your CRM from the conversations you've had about where somebody's plans are, because people know when they're thinking about their potential, maybe perhaps next move. They just haven't told you. They're having those conversations. They're doing late night Zillow porning. They're talking to their other friends and family members about it. They're just not speaking to the realtor because they don't understand the realtor can be of value to them when a transaction isn't happening. And worse than this, Glenda, that I'm seeing at scale right now is the number of realtors that are calling people their past clients that if I spoke to that customer, that family, and asked them who their realtor was, they wouldn't share the same name. They'd say, like, I worked with some girl in Atlanta. She was pretty good. But like, they're not calling you a client. And the way the portals are working right now from a lead gen, if you haven't wrapped up somebody that you've looked after in the past, they are going to appear in somebody else's lead flow.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Right. And not they might, they will.
Oh yeah. All day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. So you got to lock that stuff down.
And how do you do that? What is the action item what is the action item that is it the conversation? Is it the relationship?
It's a number of things, but before even you get tactical is like a rally cry I have to realtors scale right now is to remember that nobody wants to be a part of your test. You can't be like a kind of real estate agent. You have to make it pretty darn clear that you're in this business, you're a professional, and that you are committed to this for at least the next decade. If you're half looking over your shoulder, if you are trying to start a prop tech company over here on the side, and you're driving Uber on the weekends to make ends meet, and that you're still thinking that you might want to be an actor or an actress or a singer or a dancer, like no one's looking at you thinking that I want to commit to you helping me because you're not even committed to the task. Nobody wants to be a part of your test. So you have to be able to build a body of evidence that says, I'm committed to this profession. And whatever happens in the market, I'm here to help the people I care about navigate market conditions and support them within their housing transactions. But what we have is a lot of fair weather real estate agents. It's like I might do this if it's a way to make easy money, but if it gets hard, I'm out. So like you cannot out relationship your reputation to your inner circle when they don't see you as all in. And this is the number one reason why, when people complain, like my friend listed with somebody else, my friend bought with somebody else, my sister, it's because they don't believe that you're fully committed to the profession.
Yeah, that right there. That we could literally hang up the phone now. I mean, that was the mic drop moment. And you made a statement, and I'm telling you right now, for those of you that are half listening, for those of you who have me on in your car, for those of you who are just kind of half-assed doing it, you can't out relationship your reputation. If that didn't make you stop your car, pull over, and slap your own face, you weren't listening well, because that literally made me stop what I was doing. And I literally was like, yeah, because a lot of people think that now I'm TikTok famous, I'm a social media star, I'm a real estate influencer, I'm a speaker. And I would definitely say that it's cost us a little bit of business because you can't out relationship.
Well, because people don't want to trouble you with their 200 grand listing.
Right. Exactly. 100%.
Well, yeah. And I've heard you now even say this, and I think you actually put it in your speech when we were together in Boston, is like you got a 200 grand house in the greater Atlanta area. Like, I want that business. Not I can help. Like, I actually want that business, and we'll do a great job for it. And we'll do the same with a $2 million home, and we'll do the same with a $20 million home. Like, anywhere in between, I'm all in for this. And you have to make it clear that you're a real estate agent first.
Yeah.
But that's that reputation piece. Like if you didn't do that, you would be costing yourself business. And I think lots of people are doing that.
Yeah.
They're not actually doing the basics of their job. They're doing everything other than their job.
Absolutely. A lot of real estate agents are selling real estate to create content, not creating content to sell real estate. And that's the thing that makes my head spin around, snot fly out of my nose, is that you are doing a disservice to us because you're not really in the business of selling real estate.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing? But you hit the nail on the head with that. Most people, whether it's real estate agents or not, most people in business are looking for that 30, 60, 90-day business. They want the hit it and quit it, the now. They're not focused on long term because they're not thinking sustainability.
Nope.
And
because they're not fully committed to this as a profession.
No.
They don't know if they're doing this in 2020, 2031. So why bother like speaking to somebody who's ready to be able to buy or sell in 2031? Because I'm going to be rich and famous by then and living in Bali.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people don't want to be doing it. They want to build their downline and they want to have, 5,000 agents, paying them whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you're exactly right. So Phil, let me ask you, when you sit down with a client, and do you sit down with a client one-on-one? You sit down, you go into boardrooms, obviously, and you talk to the C-suite or the CEO, and you work with those people. But where is your passion for, or let me rephrase that. Where do you think you're most effective?
Well, I think it's because when you say most effective, right? I actually think anytime you ask a question, it's like, what's your top takeaway at this event? You're like, I got so many things. What's my top? You have to rank. Where are you most effective? That means I have to look at every area in my mind that I'm effective at anything, sort them all out, then rank them and say which is in the top spot. That's a lot of thinking. Most effective. If effective means creating change and creating change fast, that has an impact upon bottom line. If that's what we're saying effective is, I believe it's my ability to rapidly affect conversion rates in almost any given environment from adding 1, 3, or 5 more skillful questions inside a conversational tree that get us to yes quicker.
How do you do that?
It's probably easier if I can give you an example of how we can achieve things of that nature. More often than not, people try to close too soon. And as a result of which, they get like an 80, 90% yes, as opposed to a fully committed yes. And then they wrestle like crazy trying to get the final mile over the line. And this is why businesses have to have customer success departments and retention departments and save the deal departments, etc. And it's all because people don't have the skill set or the mindset to ask waterproofing questions that allow people to move from very, very interested to fully committed. In sales environments, what people often are looking to do is they're trying to give somebody 50 reasons to choose you. Some smart ones are saying, no, you just got to find the one reason why they would want to choose you. But the super smart ones understand that you should be creating questions that means that people have got no good reason not to. So I help craft questions that mean that people have got no good reason to not choose you. Let's use, for example, I'm waiting for the rates to drop before I move forward on a house. So the game we play is what would need to be true for it to be true that today's a great day to move. So what needs to be true for it to be true for today to be a great day to move? Well, what we need to prove is that rates dropping could in fact be a bad idea. We also have to prove that rates might go up as well as go down. We also have to prove that rates are not necessarily the puzzle that we're trying to solve. And we do that by starting to write questions. So first question might be this. It might be, how long do you see yourself living in the neighborhood? Because, one thing that needs to be true if somebody's going to buy a house today is they shouldn't buy a house if they only want it for the weekend. They should probably rent the house if they only want it for the weekend. Now, if they want the house for the next 25 years, they should probably definitely buy it. But somewhere between the weekend and 25 years, that pendulum switches from it's a bad idea to it's a possible idea to it's a no-brainer. Like, you question most people on that, and it's like, well, if it's more than 5 years, they probably should buy. So you see, like, the first question would be well, how long do you see yourself living in the neighborhood? And they're like, well, for the foreseeable future. You say the kind of houses you're looking at, do they have the capacity for you to live in it for a sustained period of time that if you went through a life event that you wouldn't need to move? And they'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, we got the extra bedroom and we don't know what we're doing with kids, but like, I'd like to think that we could stay here for a little while and we wouldn't be under any pressure. You say, look, I know that rates are higher than you'd like them to be right now, but can you afford the payment? They're like, yeah, we can definitely afford the payment. Hey, answer me this too, is in your profession, do you see any major changes in your employment? Is your job under threat? Are you safe in your work? Yeah, no, we're pretty safe. And do you see your income going up, going down, or staying about the same? Well, it's probably going to be going up. So you can definitely afford it. And also, if you're safe in your employment, like if rates were to come down, you could also refinance quite comfortably because you'd actually probably have more options because you'd be able to prove more earnings. Yeah. Hey, if rates were to come down, what do you think will happen to demand? They're going to be like, well, I guess more people would be looking to buy.
Absolutely.
If more people were looking to buy, then what do you think that would do to prices?
Pushes the prices up.
Not only that, are you in the strongest buying position out of anybody could be buying a house? Like, are you all cash, no contingencies, or are you looking to be able to leverage finance? Well, this is why we're having the conversation. We're trying to leverage finance. So if rates were to drop, prices would go up, the marketplace would be more competitive, and you wouldn't be in the most competitive buying decision.
Yeah, so you're moving, the questions that you ask are actually helping them come to their own conclusion. And what you want to do, it sounds like, is you always want them to come to their own conclusion because they're 100% bought in when it's their idea.
And the final question I could get to on that would be, so explain to me again why you were thinking of waiting and why waiting would be a good idea.
Because now they've dispelled the thought of waiting is the better idea because they've talked and the key is that they've talked themselves into it, not you.
And the close isn't me telling them they were wrong. The close is them being asked to fight for their previous idea, realizing they've got nothing to fight with. So therefore, they're like, by deduction, oh, dang, I've just seen the light. We're going to save money by moving now. What are we waiting for? Let's go.
And one thing I noticed about you is you know, because we've all seen the negotiator, you know, the person that's the negotiator. That's not what you're doing. You're not the negotiator trying to negotiate them in or out of. You're really just positioning questions for them to convince themselves.
Well, the greatest cost is indecision. Like, it isn't how do you turn a no into a yes, it's the people who are stuck indecisive. And if you look at the real estate market, like how many transactions didn't happen last year because people were stuck in maybe?
Do you want me to tell you? 7.9 million. There are 7.9 million people that are able to buy a house that are still renting.
Right. And that's just renters to buyers. That isn't the move-up buyer that can't wrap their head around letting go of a 2.9% rate. That isn't the person that's actually really dreaming of changing their lifestyle and living somewhere demonstrably different, that can't let go of the big house because they're saving it for their kids, but their kids are 57 and don't want the house. Like, it's none of those people in that number two. There are literally tens of millions of people right now that are one conversation away from making a move. But what the real estate industry is waiting for is they're waiting for that person to decide they're ready to move and say, come talk to me about how you can help me move. You've got to find people who are stuck in that messy maybe space, get sat around the kitchen table with them and help them make their freaking mind up. It's not help them find a house, it's help them decide to move.
I love that. And what I love about talking to you is that I never ever feel like I need to take a bath. Like, I never ever feel like I was the sleazy salesperson. I always feel like, because you're such a you're such you're bringing such value, and it's like you're making people see the light.
Just helping people figure it out. And they're spinning on the spot on this stuff. They're hurting. They're having family grievances and arguments, and they're living in awkward circumstances because they cannot find clarity. And what we have is we have people that did have order and they'd like to get to new order, and they don't know how to get from order to new order, because to get from order to new order, you have to go through chaos, and people don't like chaos. And what great sales professionals can do is they can help people navigate chaos.
Yeah, it's like documentary sales training is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're having the person document their life, where they're going in their life, and you're in conversation. I always say that conversion happens in conversation, and conversation happens in the comments when I'm talking about people and videos. And what you're doing is that you're in the conversation. And so the conversion for you is so much easier because you're actually listening to what they're saying. You're listening to what they're saying, and then you're designing the roadmap of their real estate journey based on what they're saying, not what they're saying that they're going to do in 30, 60, 90 days. You're literally documenting the journey of how they see their future life in real estate.
In the medical industry, they say that prescription before diagnosis is malpractice. And the same is true in your business. And how many agents are out there selling the prescription for the wonder drug, and they don't even know what's going on? And if we go back to even where we started our conversation today with that Pitch Fest thing on stage at the TF event, I would have loved it if, when somebody came back with their monologue of like how quick they could sell somebody's house for the most money, and how they're going to put this marketing campaign together that's going to bring all this exposure to their houses. I was desperate for somebody to say, well, that's a shame, because I didn't want to sell it till next spring. And I'd like this to be a discreet transaction without any of my neighbors knowing about it. Like, I just wanted somebody to just completely say, well, you just told me you're not for you, because, and it's true, right? Not everybody wants to sell for the most money in the quickest period of time.
Right.
They don't.
It's not always about that. And if you never ask the question, when I sit down with a seller, I always say to them, in a perfect world, what does your real estate journey look like to you? Like, where are you trying to go? How can I help you with your goals? Because you're exactly right. What happens is as real estate agents, we walk in, we've been taught a script, and we're talking at them, and we're telling people what we think they want to hear, without ever sitting down first and saying, so Phil, thanks for having me over tonight. Let's talk about what does the real estate journey look like for you? What are you guys doing? Where are you going?
Right.
And understanding that, like, this is, and then if you really sit down and connect with them, you don't only know about this move, but
It's
you
the
know
nature.
about what is their real estate life journey? Like
Yeah.
what is it really? Like what is the ultimate goal here?
And don't ask questions like, what does the perfect thing look like? The actual goal is to give people permission to give you messy answers.
Oh.
When you speak in absolutes, it becomes very difficult to answer. It's like, well, where's your favorite city to visit? Ah, right. So what happens is you lie because you feel like you're on the spot to answer quickly. So you just use something that comes into your head quickly. So even if you take that, like you want to know what's their perfect real estate journey onwards from here, is why not start them somewhere they know the answers to easier? So the easiest sets of questions to start any conversation with anybody about is the past. So here we are in this house right now. Fill me in on your real estate journey. Like, how did you get to here? And then
Oh,
you can say, like, what have you learned from that? And how's that shaped what you might want to do next? You see how like the might or may want to do next? Now they can vomit it however it comes. They can stutter it out. They can tell you the conflicting, well, he wants this and I want this, and to be honest, we're not so sure. We said that what we wanted was a condo, but now that I think about it with the skinny ceilings and somebody on top of me, I probably don't want that. We still want privilege, and they vomit the mess out, and you're the only person that's given them permission to share their truth.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm literally sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, because I think I'm so good. And that I think that's where like you miss the boat is you're so busy thinking that you know everything, you know where they want to go, you know what they want to do, you know how to sell it, you know how to get the most money in the least amount of time. And you never ever took the chance, took the time. How did you get here? My stars and stripes.
Right. And
Oh,
you'd be the only person that's cared about that, and they'll be really happy to tell you.
and think about you're up against five other people who all
Right.
walked in and said that they were number one, and they tell you about every single house that they sold, and you're probably the only person that walked in
You're
there.
pitching them the script for Rocky 4, but you haven't seen Rocky 1, 2, and 3, right? Is you haven't got the backstory enough to actually be a genuine advisor. So your advice is bullshit because there's not enough context yet. And I'll make this really, really simple. Is one of the hardest decisions every human being has to make, particularly if you're in a loving relationship with somebody you care about, is every single night you have a troublesome debate, negotiation, moment of influence around what's for dinner. And what's for dinner is like one of the hardest things. So somebody can pitch their great idea of what they think should be for dinner, and the other person's then got 30 reasons why that's not what we want for dinner. And you're like, well, what do you actually want for dinner? And they're like, I don't know what I want for dinner, but I don't want that. Well, how about this? Well, not that, etc. We're in chaos. If you just ask somebody, what did you have for lunch? They're like, I know this one.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So I always say when somebody asks me, what do you want for dinner? I always say, I want whatever you want as long as it's what I want.
Right.
I'll let you make the decision as long as it's
As long
what
as it's the thing that I want. Yeah. You can pick anything you like as long as it's what I'm into.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So you're exactly right. What did you have for lunch? Because if I had Mexican for lunch, I damn sure don't want Mexican for dinner.
Right. But then you stay there. Like, you tell me what you had for lunch, and then I'm like, well, how hungry are you? And that's another piece of context from the past. It's like, well, I'm not that hungry. I can be like, well, do you want to eat in or do you want to go out? You see how like these little gateway questions, it's so much easier to live life. They're like, well, I don't want to go out. I just took a shower. I'm in my PJs right now. Like, okay. And what have we got in the fridge? Well, there's nothing in the fridge. So I guess we're ordering in. Yeah, I guess we're ordering in. Is there anything you definitely don't want? Well, I'm doing sushi tomorrow with the girls, so not sushi. Okay.
So we're not having Mexican or sushi.
Right. But you see how these deductions means that like we get to the point that there's only one option left that we should do, and everybody's in agreement with it, and nobody brought it up because it's the deduction of all the other options that say it must be that.
It's the process of elimination.
Correct.
I
And the
hope.
same is true with how you help somebody choose a house. It beats me the number of agents like, I'm going to find you your perfect house. No, you're not. Because there aren't perfect houses. They say stupid things like, don't worry, we'll get the next one. How do you know for sure? You might not. There might be like an oil sheik that wants to pay 3 times over the asking price for it because they fell in love with the pink bathroom. You don't know.
Don't tell them, don't worry about it, we'll get the next one, because you're setting yourself up for failure.
Correct.
And then when you don't get the next one, you've lost credibility.
You're a loser.
I'm in this Facebook group, and it's East Cobb Real Estate. And it's not just for real estate agents, it's for like buyers and sellers, right? And buyers and sellers go in there all the time, and they're like, I have a real estate agent. We've written 5 offers. She hasn't got us any of the houses. It's all her fault. And it's probably not all her fault. She probably hasn't explained to them that they're going to have to pay X number of dollars over the list price and do this and that to get the house that they want, right? And some of the things that people say, I did a video about, don't think that what you say in a Facebook group is private, because there's no such thing as a private Facebook group. And it's just amazing to me that some of the things that people will say. So, Phil, as we wrap up today, I want to ask you, as you kind of move, you're doing a lot of speaking, you've created this brand, you've written 8 books, am I correct?
Maybe 11, but like some we retire and hide and things. So I'll take 8. That's fine.
Okay, I started to say, because I did some research, I thought it said
Yeah, we got. It just depends on like whether you're catching the hidden stuff and the things we buried.
Okay, good, because I've done some videos that I've tried to bury. That's not as easy. But what is the next? What does the next 5 years look like for Phil M. Jones?
I'm all in on exactly what to say. Like, we are building this brand in whatever direction it goes. People ask me like, are you doing another book? And I'm like, why? And I've been blessed with the greatest hit. And what do people want from you? They want you to play your greatest hits. You don't want to go to a John Bon Jovi concert and he's like, hey, I got new music for you today. You're like, that would suck. So I'm going to ride exactly what to say the same way that Psy rides Gangnam Style. Like, no one's getting new music out of Psy who did Gangnam Style, right? Like, he's famous for that thing. So keep doing that. And we're going to keep going bigger, broader, and wider with EWTS. We're going to keep empowering more people to be able to do the same and look at collaborations and mashups. We've done 3 million copies. There's 400 million people in North America. There's a big world out there. So we're still going with this.
I went to REO Speedwagon, Loverboy, and Chicago. Played here in Atlanta. You're probably too young to know any of those people. Do you know any of those people?
I got a couple.
Okay. So, and Chicago comes out and they play an entire set of their new music. And everybody sat down. On everybody else, everybody knew all the words to Styx. Everybody knew all the words to REO Speedwagon. And Chicago comes out and they want to play this new music. And nobody wants to hear it. Everybody goes to the bathroom. Everybody goes to get a concession. And you just said that, and you said, I have a greatest hit with exactly what to say. I'm going to write it Gangnam Style. And I got to tell you, you hit the nail on the head, Phil. You are an absolute treasure. You know where you know where the sweet spot is of the bat. And every time you swing, you hit it out of the park. And I have to tell you, meeting you was such an honor. Having the opportunity to sit with you all day in New York at your speaker studio was phenomenal. And I thank you for taking your time and sharing your talent with my audience and with me.
Oh, it's a joy, Glennda, and I love what you're doing. And I love that you stay true to your roots of selling real estate and also adding this other string to your bow. And I think it's a great example of how you can keep reinventing, keep growing, but also keep what's always true. And I think there's a good example in that as to what people can look for. It's not a reinvention, it's an evolution of brand with a lot of DNA that doesn't change. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, Phil, where can my audience find you?
Come to exactlywhattosay.com, philmjones.com, and we give away tons of information on our YouTube channel. If you want to continue the conversation, something you liked about today, come find me on Instagram. I'm at PhilMJonesUK, and tell me that you heard our conversation with Glennda, and love to better pick up the chat there as well in the DMs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Glennda's Guru has featured Phil M. Jones, the author of Exactly What to Say. My friend, an amazing speaker, and I have to tell you, you said so many things that really, really, really hit home for me. But one thing that I'm going to walk away with is you can't out relationship your reputation. And that right there, my friends, was a mic drop moment. Phil, thank you for your time and your talent. Ladies and gentlemen, as I always say, my name is Glennda Baker. I'm a real estate agent in Atlanta, Georgia. Send me a text, tag me in a post, give me a call. That's what I love the most, because I'd love the opportunity to talk real estate with you today. See ya.